So I have to tell you that I love my mother. But she gives really bad advice. And you know, it's probably because she was a Catholic girl in the 1950s. Apparently the nuns were like, you're next. And she was gonna become a nun until she met the cute little redheaded boy who eventually became her husband and my father. But I think all of her conservative background and her personality led her to say things like this. Children should never be taught the names of their private parts. And she meant it. I never knew what this was called until I was way too old. And it was called You're Down There. And I thought maybe boys had different genitalia, but that was just a guess. And all I really learned, because you know my sister and I never got the birds and the bees kind of talk, what I learned was from the ABC after-school specials, you know, which were just a plethora of upbeat advice about like Scott Baio. Scott Baio hit a bong at the breakfast table before I went to first period algebra class, and that was supposed to tell me not to do drugs. And I learned about teen pregnancy from Dana Plato, who was really whiny, and Rob Lowe, who gave it 24 hours before they kicked their baby to the curb. Anyway, I somehow managed to survive puberty, and I graduated from college and got a teaching job. I always wanted to be a teacher, and it turns out I got a job at the Catholic school that I attended in grades 1 through 8. I couldn't have been more excited to be teaching English and social studies, and then the principal dropped a bombshell. Ellen, you have to teach co-ed sex ed. What? They didn't tell us about that in college, and my mom never even told me the names of my body parts. I looked at the curriculum and I saw the textbook, and man, this was like a how-to course. So I panicked, but then I thought, the person who does give good advice, my sister, I called her, and she said she would help me. She was a nursing student at the time, and she said, you know what, this is perfect. I have to do community service hours, and I'll come into your classroom, and we can teach sex ed together. I said, that is such a good idea. So she came in. The first day, she was wearing a long coat, and she went in front of the students and kind of whipped it open. No, it's not that bad. And she was wearing a smock that had a very detailed rendering of the female anatomy, from her girls to her down there. And that kind of set the tone, you know? So when I was actually creating the lesson plans for this unit, I knew I couldn't speak to the kids without blushing, and they would know I didn't know what I was talking about. So I came up with a brilliant plan based on what my sister told me. She said, you know, whenever you're trying to decide how to do something that's difficult, you should probably just think of what Mom would do and do the complete opposite. She said, that's how I've lived my life. So I decided, you're gonna have to tell the kids their body parts. You're gonna have to say these words. But I kind of chickened out. I came up with an idea of writing all the private parts on index cards. I had 4 kids at each table, 2 boys and 2 girls, had to be co-ed. I made sure there was a smart kid in each group so that they could handle most of the teaching. And all I said was, say the word, decide if it's a female or male body part, and then talk about it. So I just stood back and I watched the magic happen. And I'll tell you what, these kids did a great job. They really did. And then there was some quietness, and I got nervous. And I thought, oh no, I might have to say something. But then this one little guy saved the day. They were staring at a word nobody knew, and then he went, "Oh, my mom's got one of those." One of what? You want to know, don't you? And I looked over his shoulder, and I saw the word. Scrotum. Thanks, Mom.